Titanfall 2 is possibly the greatest under-the-radar shooter ever to be released. Turns out sandwiching yourself between Call of Duty and Battlefield in 2016 is overall a bad idea. However, it's not too late to jump in. You can play Titanfall 2 right now if you have a Game Pass or standalone EA Play subscription. We'll be reviewing on the Xbox Series S, and we'll be focusing on the campaign and frontier defense modes only. I could not get a single multiplayer game to launch. The server timed out before I found a match every single time. Frontier Defense was barely holding together on the server side, but I did manage to get into some games. If you want to play Titanfall 2 multiplayer, PC is the way to go with the custom North Star servers. Just make sure to do your research before jumping in. I preface the review with this because this is a very big issue that only has a third-party workaround on one platform. We will be talking about this in the specs section later, but know up front that this review won't be covering any multiplayer because I simply wasn't able to play it. Also, we'll be reviewing a new game every single week in 2023, so if you like what you see here, subscribe, it really helps us out. Now, stand by for Titanfall. We're embarking to let you know if Titanfall 2 is worth your time. Let's get this right out of the way. Titanfall 2 was mostly made by the legacy Infinity Ward devs. These are the people that made COD 4 and the original Modern Warfare 2 before jumping back over to make Modern Warfare 2019. These guys just know how to make good first-person shooters, and Titanfall 2 is just another jewel in that crown. The core of the gameplay is the link between your pilot and Titan. As a pilot, you are a squishy mortal with a jetpack. You can run, slide, shoot, double jump and wall run. Pilots are much faster than Titans and much smaller targets. Pilot movement is insanely fluid, and there's a big emphasis on always allowing you to shoot regardless of how you're moving. There's also a great learning curve, and the level design is constantly pushing you to master your pilot abilities. Titans are giant robots that can be commandeered or fight alongside your pilots. Where the pilot gameplay is more so a standard FPS with a jetpack, Titan gameplay is loadout based slap fighting with massive swords and crazy abilities. The game does a great job of constantly giving you a new Titan loadout frequently, and you can switch them out at any time once you've unlocked them. My personal favourites were the Tone and Legion loadouts because I'm filth, but there wasn't a single setup here that wasn't fun to use. All of this is great, but it goes even further with great level design. And luckily, Titanfall 2 is bringing the goods. There are only 9 missions, but each of these is unique. You have your classic Infinity Ward gauntlet to master, the pilot tutorial level, the Titan tutorial level, just the classic stuff to get you into the game. But then you also have a level where you get this electric gun, or a level where you're boarding spaceships, or the best level, which we won't be spoiling here, or the other best level, where you go to the IKEA showroom factory, where the level builds itself as you go through. Nothing is wasted here, and every level balances pilot shooting and platforming with big Titan fights and splitting up the dynamic duo of Cooper and BT wonderfully. And with that, we've come back around to the movement, which actually feels like it belongs compared to those jetpack CODs that kept you locked into very linear levels for the most part. Titanfall 2 is linear, but a lot of the combat arenas are nice and big to provide plenty of options. There are bits between the shooting to flex your movement skills. You always have a good amount of space to use all of the fun toys the game gives you, and that is very welcome. The weapon arsenal is wonderful. Everything feels good to shoot, and whilst some weapons are a bit basic and standard, there are some unique guns in here like the LMG that you have to cool down every time you stop shooting, or my favourite, the Mastiff shotgun, which just fires a straight line of projectiles. I also really like that you keep guns between missions. If you find something you gel with, no one is going to take it away from you. And that's the campaign. In a word, fantastic. Great level design that propels the great movement and duo gameplay systems. Ideas never wear out their welcome, and there's always something new to mess around with. Now, we can't talk about multiplayer, but we can talk about Frontier Defense quickly. This is just a fun little defense mode that sees you holding out with a team of 4 players. The mode has a nice progression, and whilst it's no Call of Duty Zombies, it is a bit of fun, and the teammates left playing in 2023 definitely know what they're doing. It's a great dessert to the main course that is the campaign. Overall, the gameplay here is simply wonderful. Respawn did an awesome job of making each thread of gameplay fun on its own, but also making the whole package blend together. You never feel too underpowered as a pilot, nor can a Titan solve all of your problems. It's all about balance. We're starting off nice and strong with a 5 out of 5 for gameplay.
Got you.
Titanfall 2 is still gorgeous. I'm actually going to start with the stuff I don't like so that I can gush uninterrupted. The score is very unremarkable. Looking back, when I think of what Titanfall 2 sounds like, all I hear are Titan footsteps. But that does mean that the sound design is very good. Facial animations are also pretty rough. The ultra-real environment art style just doesn't mesh well with this. This isn't a massive issue as most characters are wearing helmets during the game, but it is one small weak link within the art direction. Right, time to gush. The difference in feel between pilots and Titans is incredible. This is the result of great animation and sound design. You feel light, fast and small as a pilot, and then as you jump into your Titan, you suddenly feel like a hulking, massive, powerful machine. It's also a really nice touch that there are loads of different embarking animations for when you hop into your Titan. It reinforces the link between your pilot and Titan by simply showing it, but it also shows that the developers cared enough to add these extra details. Similarly, weapon sounds and animations are solid all around. There's not a gun here that doesn't feel good to shoot. Titan abilities continue the trend. Every weapon feels massive and heavy and is deafening to shoot. Bullets turning around in the vortex shield is always fun to watch, and this Scorch ability is burned into my retinas. It looks simply awesome. Environment design is just gorgeous. The game really stands out when you're out in the open, looking at lush green landscapes or awesome skyboxes, but even the more traditional sci-fi factory environments manage to look interesting and always feel like real places. Menu UI design is very function over form, but this is totally fine. It's nice and easy to see what you're tweaking. In-game UI is great. It's unobtrusive for the most part, and it always feels like I can see all of the information I need at a quick glance. Overall, this is just solid art direction. Even the rougher parts and function over form elements cannot detract from the full 5 out of 5.
But what truly separates the pilot from all the grunts and machines of the battlefield?
Titanfall 2 is a fairly average story that is propped up by a solid dynamic between Cooper and BT. The external story is mostly average, in a we must stop the bad guys from destroying the world way. The villains do the standard shooter thing where they just taunt you over the radio before trying to slap fight you to death with a Titan. It's a little predictable, but the story does a solid job of servicing the gameplay, and the level design fits the story well. Like I said, the bond between Cooper and BT is what makes this a better than average story. The gameplay narrative link is one of the strongest elements of the campaign. When BT is taken away from you, you feel vulnerable, but in the same vein, getting him back is a team effort. The writing and dialogue options do a good job of building the bond between shooty sections, and there are true moments where you feel that the relationship between Cooper and BT has evolved. Decent stories don't have to be massively complicated, and Titanfall 2 is just that. The villains are pretty weak, but the main bond and gameplay narrative link more than make up for it, and land the narrative a 4 out of 5.
But when that day comes, I hope I can live up to the honor.
Right, let's get this out of the way. The game is losing major points because multiplayer and frontier defense barely work. That is 2/3 of the package, and it's not as if these issues are new. Content-wise, you're getting a workable campaign with 9 missions. These missions are nice and beefy and polished to a shine. I had no bugs or frame drops throughout the entire experience, and things can get pretty crazy at times. The game also has 4 difficulties. That's your workable content. Multiplayer and Frontier Defense are well fleshed out modes, but at present they are practically inaccessible. This isn't okay. Settings are pretty decent, but there are some much needed omissions. Control options let you choose sprint mode and toggle hold to rodeo. Controls have a few schemes, but can also be completely rebound. Stick layout and lefty toggle can also be adjusted. You can adjust how crouch and ADS are activated. Sensitivity has separate options for standard and ADS sensitivity. You can also adjust response curve, dead zone, and movement dead zone. Inverted look and vibration can be toggled. If you want to go really specific with your sensitivity options, there is a further menu for advanced look controls. For the campaign, there is only one audio slider for master. For multiplayer, there are additional sliders for sound effects, dialogue, music, and lobby music. It's a bit confusing why these options aren't for all modes. You can toggle subtitles, but there are no further options, and this is a problem. The base subtitles do have a background, but are far too small and locked to the top of the screen. I found them very awkward to read. You can also unlock classic Frontier Defense music after winning 10 matches of Frontier Defense. You can toggle almost every element of your HUD, which is really nice to have. There are sliders for brightness, field of view, and film grain. Finally, there are some colorblind modes and a toggle for smooth sprint view. Overall, Titanfall 2 is falling apart in 2023. If you're just here for the campaign, then you're getting a solid content and technical experience with a few missing options. However, as a whole package, this is 2/3 a mess. The servers just do not work, and that effectively locks most of the game away in the void forever. Respawn, please come back and fix this, and then we can talk about giving your wonderful game a better score than a 2 out of 5 for its technical experience. It took me just over 4 hours to get through the campaign of Titanfall 2. This is short and sweet, and my time never felt disrespected. Missions are nice and hefty, clocking in at an average of 30 to 40 minutes long. Checkpoints are also nice and frequent. It's nice and easy to fit in the Titanfall 2 campaign around your life, and the game doesn't ask a lot of your time overall. The game has a nice replayability, given the skill ceiling for the gameplay. I know some people go nuts getting good times on the training course, and the game is short enough that I think replaying the game on the higher difficulties is worth going through again for, if that's your sort of thing. If you can get into the multiplayer or Frontier Defense menus, then expect long matchmaking times before the inevitable server timeouts and regret over wasted time. Hard drive footprint is massive at 69 gigabytes. I joke that that's nice, but if you have a data cap or slow internet, I can't say the campaign is worth this massive download. And I especially can't recommend this bigger download just to check if the servers are working. When I did get into the multiplayer menus, there was a store and it seemed to be active. This just doesn't sit right with me at all. Do not spend any money if you can even get here. Overall, the technical disaster of the servers is bleeding through to the commitment score. There's also the massive install to get past, but once you're in, the campaign does have a solid respect for your time, but the overall game does not. We're giving Titanfall 2 a 2 out of 5 on our commitment scale. Titanfall 2 is a wonderful single player offering, but as a whole package, it's bordering on technical disaster in 2023. I'd say that Titanfall 2 is worth your time overall. The campaign is just that good, but don't get your hopes up if multiplayer or Frontier Defense look fun to you. They're practically inaccessible on console. I really hope that one day Respawn does come back to fix the server issues here, because the whole package is a gem and really could do with a second chance.
Bang bang, their kill counts rise. Bang bang, their enemies die. Bang, bang, better hit the ground. Bang, bang, here's the rocket sound.